Sir Isaac Newton once said, "If I have seen farther than others, it is because I stood on the shoulders of giants." In being a consumer of research, this is what you're actually going to do. You have to make sure that the guy's shoulders that you're going to stand upon knew what he was talking about and really did a good job of the research that you're going to quote. Otherwise, you could end up in a situation where you really have nothing to stand on and therefore don't know what you're talking about. Nobody wants that. Good informed decisions regarding research begin with understanding what good research is and where it comes from. Situationally, we can go today to the newsstand and pull up any number of publications ranging from newspapers to special interest magazines to political magazines to current affair magazines, or my personal favorite, things like InStyle magazine and things that have virtually no intellectual value to them whatsoever. This is sort of just to offset my intense academic life. And I find that I wouldn't believe an opinion written in one of these magazines about current affairs or political matters any more than I would in, say, Newsweek or Businessweek, just because every publication has its agenda. What sets scholarly and peer-reviewed sources apart is the fact that they are blindly reviewed, and they are reviewed by scholarly peers who are pretty harsh with each other about how they judge what is good research. So all the things I'm going to talk about today tell you some important points and questions to ask yourself when you're looking at a research product to say, is this good research or is it not worth standing upon? So the first thing you have to understand is what causes invalid results and misleading conclusions in research studies. And sometimes these things are caused by incompetence when the researchers are really not adequately prepared to conduct the study. And sometimes it's due to constraints in resources like money or staff or time or even access that force scholars to conduct research that is less thorough and rigorous than they would desire. Some research results from honest mistakes, and sometimes it can be the product of carelessness. Finally, sometimes problems can result from duplicity or deliberately skewing the research so that it serves only to support previously conceived opinions that the researchers might bring to the table in terms of bias. We'll talk about bias a little bit more later, but it's an important thing to know. Peer review definitely helps screen out the worst research, but there is compelling evidence that it allows considerable flawed research to reach print. So even despite it being a very good system, you have to be aware of the fact that sometimes mistakes happen. The merit of a research study can be considered like a chain hanging from a stout crossbeam, if you will, holding up a heavy pallet of knowledge. If any one link in that chain has a major crack, the pallet is in danger of crashing to the floor. The links include the background preparation for the study, the conceptual framework, the questions or hypotheses addressed, and the contexts prevailing during the study, as well as any interventions applied in experiments and demonstrations, and certainly the methodology of the study, along with the results and the conclusions that are inferred from the study. So, a couple of things just to look at on the surface before we dig deeper into the details. Titles sometimes have more hype than substance, and you can't assume the title of a research article accurately reflects what was studied or the results. So, back to our chain analogy, not all cracks in the chain links will cause the pallet to fall. So whether or not the chain will hold the pallet depends upon the strength of the links, the depth of the cracks, and the weight of the pallet. Just as it is a mistake to assume every published research study can be relied upon, it's also a mistake to assume that any shortcomings in a study makes it useless. Careful and wise judgment is needed when assessing the merit of individual research studies, and that's what you're going to get here. When you're looking at research studies, you have to be aware of your own biases. And even seasoned scholars are quicker to identify the flaws in studies with results that contradict their opinions than those with results that support their opinions. So work consciously to exercise even-handed judgment when looking at research. There are 3 levels of assessment. and they include: 1. What are the characteristics of the study that may have affected the results? What are the implications? These questions are important to synthesize the review of the study or studies that you're looking at. Second question, does the study validly answer the questions addressed or validly test the hypotheses posed? This is often referred to as internal validity. Third question, are the results significantly large and or generalizable enough to be important to theory, policy, and or practice? This is often referred to as external validity.